welcome to another episode of Stew and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our chat room, via our Facebook page, and of course, on Twitter. Keep it funky. Oh yeah, keep it funky. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Stew and the Nunn. Let me move my... There, it's better. It is October 11th and you are here with Stew and to my side, the Nunn. Hello Nunn, how you doing? Welcome, buddy. Good to see you tonight.
Well, I'm doing good. I've been hearing all the comments about me growing out hair and not being bald, so I was like, let's compromise, my people. And we'll be bald faced for 1 week.
It's not looking good, dude. No, I'm not happy with it. I'm be honest, I don't pull no punches.
No, I'm out here representing all the high speed, low drag 12-year-old boys.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Trying to grow hair and get their balls to drop. I see that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to do. But I'm also representing Veteran Outdoors as always, and then our top sponsor, Enlisted Nine Fight Company, now with 9 line apparel. One bad mother, that's right, the Moab. We got Sec Def Mattis carrying the bomb on his shoulders. He's getting ready to drop it on ISIS.
Nice.
If you like this shirt and you like beer, do you like beer?
I like beer. I do.
If you like beer, Enlisted Nine have a shirt for you. It's the Kavanaugh Special I Like Beer shirt. www.9lineapparel.com, and you can be the proud owner. So excited about Enlisted Nine partnering up with 9line. Some great stuff there. Go check them out. We are also, as always, brought to you by Road Armor, where you can get the best light kits, bumper, and accessories for your truck or outdoor sporting vehicle.
So you got Road Armor over there.
The nearest Road Armor dealer or distributor near you at www.roadarmor.com.
That's it. Yeah.
And then, if you want to know what all the cool guys are doing, if you want to know what's up, you want to be part of the crew, veteranoutdoors.com.
You're representing. You're representing. I just got my no step on snake patch. I'm not
represent the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, I just rolled in, as you know, Toby, from the range. I shot until I could not see anymore. I was out there. The deer are coming, and deer season is on upon us. And I had to go out there and recheck the zeros. And so I barely made it in studio in time. I did not even get a chance to get into any of my show regala, and had to.
In pure no step on snake fashion. You were checking out black powder.
Yes, I was shooting the muzzle loader. Yeah, that takes a while when you do that. That's not a quick reload. It's not quick to zero in either. It takes a long time to do that. So, yep, it was big boom, a lot of smoke. Give it a couple seconds for that to clear, and then you see if you hit what you shot at. It's not instant feedback. That is for sure.
With the equivalent of a 50 caliber ball of lead flinging at it, you're somewhat accurate.
Yeah, Sabo round flying out of there, copper power belt with 100 grains of powder pushing it, and 50 cal slamming in the side of that. Hopefully, that shoulder of that deer stops it in track. So when the smoke clears, you're like, oh, there it is, and not.
I'm not a tanker, but man, I hear the term Sabo round, and I don't know. I dig it.
Yeah.
Like, there's something to be said about a Sabo round. Like, gunner, Sabo, 1,200 meters, tank. Oh, that kind of fire command gets me all excited. And for those of you that don't know what a fire command is, that's when someone in charge is telling someone on the trigger, this is what I want you to do, this is how I want you to do it, and this is what I want you to do it with. And I tell you, Sabo rounds, they're what's up. What else is up is we are already in the middle of October. It happened so fast. I know, like, well, we're not quite in the middle, but we're a couple days away from being in the middle. And things this time of year is flowing fast. But what is tough about this time of year is we're in the heart of hurricane season. Anyone that knows all of us, knows our families, know that we like coastal areas. We play and hang out and have family in coastal areas. So before we go too much further with the show, big shout out, much love to everyone affected by Hurricane Michael that hit about a day ago on the Florida Panhandle. Some crazy devastation there. You look at it, you're like, man, it looks like a tornado came through, and then you realize it was a hurricane. Crazy damage. Our thoughts are with you. The cool thing is like we're getting better at dealing with these things. And man, it was hardly even a blip on the mainstream media. Like, I found out that there was a hurricane because a hurricane made landfall. Not like, hey, we're thinking about this hurricane that's out in the Gulf somewhere, down the Caribbean, off in some of the place. They're like, oh, and in about 2 hours, we expect this Category 4 to make landfall. Like, what? Like,
yeah, it was quick. It wasn't like Francis. It wasn't like Francis. We didn't see it, didn't plan for it. It was on top of us.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hit hard. But like.
Why am I getting static on you? Why am I hearing myself from you?
That's because you need to use dryer sheets.
No.
If you put dryer sheets in your computer, it smells fresher and it cuts down on the static. I don't know if you know that.
Okay.
I keep files in my computer, and in between the files in my computer, I keep dryer sheets. It keeps the static down.
Can you put one around your microphone? Because I can hear myself. I couldn't hear myself a second ago. That kind of drives me crazy. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you could put earbuds in if they don't have a beard to rub up against or something.
Man, challenge accepted.
Yeah. But no, now it's fine. It was just a temporary thing. You may be okay. Anyways, no, let's talk about the hurricane. Michael was something. It came in quick. I have some close friends of mine that I haven't heard an update. I knew they were hunkered down, and she works in a hospital, and so she kind of had to stay. And I know her fellow co-workers were saying everything they had was gone. It was just lost completely. I don't know if you saw it, Toby. I saw some drone footage today from Mexico Beach, which was ground zero. Dude, what gone? I mean, if you see a house standing, it's like, oh wow, there's one. There's just everything around it is just gone. I don't know what made those ones so lucky. I guess maybe they were newer builds, but I mean, just absolutely destroyed.
Like Mexico Beach looks like Rockport and Port Aransas in Texas did after Harvey. I mean, it's just obliterated. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. Very tragic.
Cajun Navy's down there. I watched today. Cajun Navy's down there. They're rescuing people. They have drones. They've got like 70-something volunteers on the ground. They're trying to get more in. They were working it. They're already doing stuff. It kind of was reminiscent of Houston to some degree, which you were very much a part of. Yeah. Our prayers are definitely going. It's people in the Carolinas, a few weeks ago had some time. They everybody planned for it. They reversed the roads. They had time to get out. This one was like, it's coming. Oh, it's a 1. It's off of Cuba. Holy crap! It's going to be 3. No, it's a 4.
Boom.
Oh, and it's 2 miles. 2 miles an hour shy of a 5. 2 miles an hour shy of a 5. And then once it hit and got over land, it got stronger. It got to 155 mile an hour sustained winds. It went over 5 level while it was over land. And anything on that outer edge, anything near that wall was just, I mean, if you saw some of the footage of the reporters literally having to hold on street signs without, and some of them
were for real this time.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't like, yeah, there was nobody acting like with like people walking behind them. There was none of that going on. But no, it's going to be bad and just utter destruction. Some of those places it hit are, not the most, are kind of, impoverished areas. They're not, people, there's probably a lot of trailers. There was not a lot of high-end nice houses in some of those areas up in the Panhandle. I mean, they just had to be, they got to be gone. I mean, nothing left.
Like there's a lot of different reasons for it, but coastal areas are typically impoverished areas. A lot of that has to do to, the economy being based off natural resources. Natural resources uh, outside of petroleum don't pay very well in terms of fishing industry. Fisheries are so like temperamental, and no, like the impact that's going to be felt there is going to be strong. Plus, tourism definitely going to be affected, and like it's sad to see, but I want to also remind everybody that hurricane after hurricane comes through. Disasters such as like the British petroleum oil spill happen, and the resiliency of the people on the Gulf Coast, as some people like to call it, the third coast, they power through. They make it happen. They make it work. They survive. They've been doing it for a minute, and like God bless them, and look forward to their recovery. I know that's a little premature in saying because we don't really know the extent, but if anyone can survive, it's them. So
yeah, absolutely. So it will be interesting to see. And sadly enough, it's going to be interesting to see what idiot makes it political. I hate to say it, but
well,
what are they going to blame? Are they going to blame it on somebody's environmental policy? Are they going? I feel bad taking it there, but we know what's going to happen, right? Is it?
Well,
is it because the Second Amendment caused it to happen? Is it?
Well, like
repeal did the wall? Maybe the wall did. The building the wall caused the hurricane to turn and hit the panhandle.
So it's interesting that you bring this up because the I don't want to say the OG of making crazy political statements after stuff like this has happened. Kanye, like with Katrina happened because GW doesn't like black people. Famous quote. Let's look at the full circle of where he's at politically to where he is at politically today and where he was physically at today.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeezy himself, the OG of hurricane fucking announcements, was hanging.
Did you just drop an F-bomb on the show? I think.
Did I?
Yeah,
My bad.
That's all right.
Did it slip? Sorry, children.
Sorry, Mom.
Annie Kathy.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, my bad.
It's all right.
That's how fired up he's got me.
That's where his 12-year-old boys talk.
Dude, like, right? I've been listening to him on Xbox. I've been doing like this character study for this film I'm working on, and it's like, man, I'm trying to get into character. I'm like trying to be on the next 21 Jump Street. That's not like a joke, but like for real. I'm trying to infiltrate a school.
All right,
no, but the anyway, Jeezy himself, aka Kanye West, was at the White House today, putting his shoes up on the desk, getting all comfortable, like kicking back,
pounding on the Oval, just like
who run Bartertown? Like he was getting Tina Turner on it, like Master Blast, like he was getting after it. How cool is that? From Katrina to today, and this is 2 shows in a row. And from the kids that are listening, first and foremost, I apologize for the profanity that just happened. 2, y'all know I'm not a fan. But this is 2 shows in a row. 2 shows in a row. Go back and listen to the last one. If you're not subscribed on iTunes, subscribe on iTunes. Go check it out on Facebook or wherever, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio. I said this on the last show. I appreciate Kanye's First Amendment ability. That dude, I don't always like his First Amendment ability. I don't always agree with his First Amendment ability, but man, do I appreciate that he has it and that he uses it. Last show, I complimented him on standing up to Harvey Levin of TMZ because Harvey Levin was like, you need to take that Make America Great hat off. And he was kind of like, no, I like this hat. I like what's behind it. I'm going to wear. And people are like, like pitchforking and mob ruling him, or
Right.
whatever the hot topic of the day is. Like, we got to like get, and he was like, no, like, if you don't like what I think and you think you're so morally superior to me, like, you're the one with the problem. You can't be morally superior to me by thinking you know what's better for me than me. Like, that's a mute point.
Right.
And then this week, we're talking about old Kanye again, beating his hands on the desk. Like, talk to us about it, Stu. Talk to us.
Yeah. I mean, he slipped an F-bomb too in there, but so that must be the thing today. But
Me?
no,
Me?
no, Kanye did. Kanye still they had to bleep it out. But
It
no,
was in his honor.
he got up, went around. I mean, President Trump at one point he was talking about like stuff, and President Trump was talking about, well, people respect these two guys. They respect him and they listen to him and they like him. And he says, and I guess these guys like me. Kanye busted out and like, no, interrupted the president, said, no, I love you. And the president's like, well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to put you in a weird spot, make you feel weird. Kanye pops up, goes around the Oval, goes around the desk in the Oval Office, and just gives him a big old man hug right there. Just no doubt about it. Got the MAGA hat on, and just comes out and just grabs him a big old hug and sits back down. And the president is kind of like he was, I'm sure he enjoyed it, but he's kind of like, well, I think, okay, there you go. And he's like, hey, I didn't want to make you feel bad. I didn't want to speak for you. And then even also said he said that Kanye could speak for him anytime. I mean,
like, hey, that's cool, man. Yeah. Like, it reminds me of a young cadet graduating from West Point a few years back. I want to say 10 years back, that was getting his diploma from the commander-in-chief and chest bumped him. That's right. Yeah. G-Dub at West Point, handing out diplomas at a commencement for the, United States Military Academy. A young cadet turning into a second lieutenant, got his diploma and got the opportunity, and he seized it. And the best part about it is the commander-in-chief at the time, George W. Bush, gave that young cadet/second lieutenant that chest bump. Everyone's like, oh, I don't know about the appropriate level of it. If you don't put faith and confidence and you don't respect the culture and customs of those you lead, whatever the circumstance, you're failing as a leader. And you're not lowering yourself by going down to a chest bump level. You're not lowering yourself by embracing a man in a hug in your office. You are putting yourself on their level, and that is a form of humbling. I know the word humbling with Kanye and Donald Trump doesn't seem to make sense. But the action does.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was pretty. I mean, man, it was a big day. Last night the president was on Shannon Bream's show, and called into there. This morning he did I want to say about 48 minutes on Fox and Friends. Called in there, talked there, wide open, just talked to them, answering anything they want to talk about. Today it was in the office, signed this bill for the music industry, the recording industry. To make sure, which you think all the people in the music industry would appreciate, and then had Kanye in there stuff, which is funny because I guess I'm seeing some stories about Hollywood, that grouping of people out in Hollywood, music and recording artists and actors and entertainers are losing their mind over Kanye's visit today. They're just it goes against their narrative. I mean, he's because you think back to the Bush Katrina days and everything. He's like one of their folks, right? He's got a heck of a following. I don't know what he has. He's got to have a big following online, social media. He's very famous. He's into that whole Kardashian thing, and that's a mainstream.
When you say he's into it, you mean like he's into it?
He's part of the whole Kardashian clan or whatever, which has its own. Which is its own, makes its own weather. I mean, it's such a huge force in young people today. They follow it and they watch it and this and that. So he's got quite a voice, and to do that comes. I mean, there's some people in Hollywood. You and I probably. I know people. I'm sure you do too. That even in the 2016 election, people were probably whispering to you like, "Hey, I'm probably going to vote for him," but would never say it out loud, right? Would never admit it.
So here's the thing.
There's people in Hollywood that are the same way.
So here's the thing I want to talk about this, because I think this is a very relevant discussion. The reason I want to talk about Kanye and the backlash that he's getting is because we can look at our own community, the veteran community, and see that there are people within the veteran community that disagree with leadership. And sometimes things get a little overboard. I can think of several circumstances when President Obama was the commander in chief as the president, that the military were very fearful of what his interpretation and what his actions and what his activity and declarations in terms of service would and how they were going to affect. I also know that there were some people that were like, awesome. Just like when George W. did it, there were people that were like, awesome, no trepidation to what he was saying, laying down as the commander in chief, while some other people were like, I'm going to make a movie about it. You know, so you have like this cool thing. It's okay within a community to not agree on all subjects and not all topics. Like Hollywood, and when I say Hollywood, I mean any industry based on artistic creativity is at the whim of the muse and the person interpreting that. Yeah. Like, you are not going to find two people more different than two creative bodies in the same room. We're talking about people whose creativity is blessed in such a way that they can create and do different things that are mind-blowing. People that can hear music through the sensors in their feet on the floor, even though they're deaf, and create music of such melodic, like fantastic. I mean, it's mind-blowing stuff. You put two of them in the same room, don't think that they're just going to be like Siamese twins and like meld together and agree. Like, that's crazy. Yet this community expects everyone to be lockstep on political stuff, where it makes no sense that that community, one of the most differentiating, one of the most creative, one of the most, you know, like intellectual, likely different communities would be all over the place. Yet in the veteran community, we expect the same thing. Like, oh, you don't agree with that message on suicide? You know, like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's so interesting. I would expect that Hollywood would never agree on anything
together. Like, yeah,
ever.
Right, because they're really all competing against each other, are they not? I mean, right. they're really, you know, they're all trying to get the same role.
The premise of being famous,
right?
You have to be more famous, more popular, more liked, more appreciated than the person to the left of you.
Yeah, it's
so you're in a different form of competition.
It's more dog eat dog than three lieutenants trying to get a one block. You know.
Yes. So like, why is it that like this is such a controversy that people in Hollywood don't agree?
Yeah.
But it is, and it's like, you're not with us. You're not part of like Benifer or Brangelina or whatever it is. I mean, I'm sure those have probably all broken up. In fact, I think they have.
Yeah.
So if you're not part of, that's why when someone comes along, like our friend Matt Goss, when someone comes along like Matthew McConaughey, when someone comes along like James Woods to an extent, it's so interesting. You know, I bring up our friend Matt Goss because one, I think he's just one of the most beautiful human beings as a person with a soul on the planet. I don't think he cares where you come from politically. I've never ever thought or heard him ever go anywhere political.
And
what he does is love one another.
Right. And
love
that guy preaches civility.
Civility.
Right. Which has been a hot word in the news the last couple of days.
Yeah.
He's like, everyone's talking civility. He's like, he's been saying that for a long time. Yeah.
Right.
Now I know, Matt and I have had a couple conversations. I know where he stands on a couple topics. We've brought it up, and I've looked at him and said, "Dude,
Yeah.
I don't agree with you." And he's like, "That's cool." I mean, we've talked about it. But you're
But
right.
that
He
doesn't
doesn't.
define your friendship.
Right. It absolutely doesn't. Just like, you and I don't agree on a lot of stuff, on some stuff. I don't say a lot, but some things you and I don't always see eye to eye on. There's others like, our good buddy Matt Burden or Travis Cox or whoever. We're not always going to see and think the same thing about everything. But even those that are, our good friend Eve Chase, who obviously is very well known to
Love
be
her.
on the
Love
other
her.
end of the political aisle than us.
Yeah, love her.
But would do anything for her and care about her and everything like that. Well, Matt Goss is the same way. He doesn't use his popularity to be a voice box for his politics. He's there to entertain people. I mean,
No, and that's also why I brought up Matthew McConaughey, why I brought up uh, James Woods.
Right.
James Woods, I brought up purely because I think James Woods gets pleasure out of antagonizing the other side. And I think he does in a very humorous way.
Yeah.
Every time I see a James Woods tweet, I always think about it and like this is the truth. I always look at it as the character he played as the cop that was mentoring Michael J. Fox, that was like who was an actor learning how to be a cop to shoot a cop movie, right? I'm trying to think of the 80s movie that Michael J. Fox and James Woods were in where Michael J. Fox wants to be James Woods, right?
Right.
Or it's like, and that character that he played, that salty, like detective cop, like every time I like read a James Wood tweet, it's in that character, like in my mind. I'm like, so it's like, I'd like to meet James Wood sometime because I need to like get out of my soul that character. Like I need to like meet him. So like, I never look at everything that he does in the back of my mind going, this is the dude that punched Michael J. Fox. Like I need to get past that on behalf of Canada. I have an issue. I need to get past that. But like Matthew McConaughey, same thing. It's like, here's the guy, like that, came from humble means in Texas out there, he's got friends of all different types, friends of all different things. And he's just like, I'm going to do me. I'm going to be me. And I might not be Matt Damon. I may not be Ben Affleck. I might not be George Clooney. I'm going to be me. And that's good enough.
Right. And
when I win an award, because like I started off as a dude with a bad haircut and, and I was like, all right. Talking about high school girls, college girls, and like whether or not you're holding weed, like, as that role launched, Dazed and Confused launched him into an acting career. Like he's gone on and done some like more intensive things.
Oh, he's done a lot, but he's always
like
going to be known for that.
Dallas Buyers Club, Calendar Girl. I can think of some like crazy and intensive roles that he's done that are like mind blowing. But he's like, I'm going to be me. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And I love you. You're all right with me no matter what. And I think, as a human being, I appreciate that. And I think within the veteran community, we need to look at stuff like people like that and kind of put that in, because I think we pitchfork ourselves really fast.
Right. Well, I think, and to talk about Kanye real quick, I think what's good about what it does for him, I think so many in that industry follow along because that's just the thing to do. They want to make sure they have job security, right? They don't want to. You don't want to end up being blackballed and PNG'd from being called in to help on whether you're cast member, whether you're doing makeup, whether you're doing behind the scenes production work, right? That's a very tight, that whole Screen Actors Guild and production studios and music studios and all stuff is pretty tight. You don't want to be, that guy's but now you get to the level like Kanye, you can wear a MAGA hat. Nobody's going to turn you away, right? So I think a lot of them, what's good about it is he shows that, hey, you can actually, if you've been back at home talking to your wife or your husband or whatever about, like, you're not really thinking along the lines there. Maybe the president's got something going on, but if you're having those private conversations at home, but wouldn't dare say it to anyone else outside of your immediate loved one, Maybe someone like Kanye coming out is giving people showing them that, hey, you can come and speak out. Like, you're not the 1% of the media and Hollywood industry that maybe supports the president. There's actually more than just one. That's why I think secretly they probably have like secret little groups where they all talk and probably believe in conservative ideals, and whether they voted for him or not. This is what gets me, Toby. Whether people voted for him or not, whether they liked him or not, whether they were upset about what he said on the bus and all that kind of stuff, and the things he said since then, and he called the guy Rocket Man and all that stuff, but all that's kind of mute now. You could look at it and go, well, look, he's done some great things. There's no harm, no foul to change your mind, to say, you know what, I didn't like him. Because I'll tell you right now, Toby, he wasn't my first pick out of the field of 17. He was one of the last picks because I never trusted him. I didn't think he was truly going to uphold conservative values. And I just did not. I felt he had been too Democrat too long. So he wasn't my first pick. But, I think people now in America, not just Hollywood, I'm speaking to all of America, you can look at it and go, well, maybe I was wrong. Hey, guess what? This guy did. I never expected this. We never expected the economy to do this. We never expected tax reform to happen. That's a good. It's a good thing. Maybe it was the right good thing he got in. Kind of like when 9/11 happened. I know a lot of people that were voting for Gore were like, well, we're really glad he didn't win. We're glad Bush got in there, right?
Well, it's funny how people are so wrapped up in the loss that they're blinded to the victory. And I don't mean the victory of the election. I'm talking about the victory of the American spirit, victory of the American position. And we were talking about civility and the word and the use of civility. Hillary just the other day said that it's not until the Democrats retain the House and the Senate that we can begin to have civil discourse again. This is the most ridiculous statement I think I've ever heard. And it's not because it's coming out of a lady that, as Joe Rogan puts, faints too much. Like, you are holding civility hostage based on being a sore loser.
I wonder if what's behind her statement is, well, when the Democrats get in charge, then people will stop trying to shoot Republicans, stop trying to stab Republicans, stop trying to attack Republicans as they mow the grass. Is that the civility maybe she's speaking of? That when the Democrats get in charge, then maybe they can calm down all their younglings to quit attacking people, shooting people, and trying to kill people? Is that the civility?
No, I mean, so let's talk about the lawnmower incident, right? It's true. The man pushing the lawnmower was a Republican presidential candidate, and he stood on the Republican platform. We're talking about Rand Paul,
right?
The Honorable Rand Paul. Man, not the best Republican.
No, not absolutely not.
But when else in history? I mean, can you think of, and can you name a circumstance where a lawmaker, an esteemed lawmaker, a presidential candidate, was assaulted mowing his lawn and it got, I don't know, 20 seconds?
Yeah.
Like, the dude missed a week's worth of meetings. Spent 2 days in the hospital. Got jacked mowing his lawn.
Broken number of ribs.
Like,
right. So
like
that's what I'm
part of me
is.
I have a little bit of envy because I don't like my neighbor. And I think my neighbor's a jackass. Everyone that knows me knows that I think my neighbor's a jackass. Part of me is every time, I don't get to mow the lawn very often in my house because I lack the lawn care skills of my esteemed wife. And, she's a professional, and I'm in awe of her abilities. So I don't get the opportunity to do some of the things I'd like to do. But part of me goes to bed every night, please attack me while I'm doing something in my yard. I'm jealous that he got attacked under those circumstances because Texas has castle law, you could execute. I mean, there's lots of things that could go there. But it didn't even make a blip in the news.
Right. No, it didn't.
we had a member of the United States Congress shot playing recreational softball with other members of Congress. And what did it get? 20, 30 minutes of airtime? I mean, the majority airtime that got was probably the president of the United States identifying him during the State of the Union address as a wonderful comeback story. Oh, and by the way, those two don't get along. But, like the president gave him the concession of acknowledging his struggle with his health due to being shot playing recreational softball with other members of Congress. Like, it's crazy. Like, some of the things that have happened that I'm like, we're talking about people taking a knee for something that's extremely arguable and debatable. Like, statistically unsupported, very politicized, very pop culture, not based in reality issue. But we don't even talk about the harsh reality of, like, we've had a guy attacked mowing his lawn. We've had multiple people attacked while playing softball. We have people run out of restaurants just for dining, just for being in public.
Right.
Like crazy falsehoods, like spread about.
I didn't even get into the chasing them in restaurants and attacking people at their homes and
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, blasting
it's
music outside
crazy.
their homes. Yeah. So I guess that's the civility. Like once they're back in power and they win, they'll calm down, right? It ain't gonna stop. It's not gonna stop. It's just like it hasn't stopped at all. I mean, when Maxine Waters said "get in their face" and all that kind of stuff about 5 or 6 months ago, everyone kind of gasped and was like, "Man, I can't believe she said that." Whatever to say it. And now they're saying, when they go low, kick them. When they, all this kind of stuff. So it's they don't. It's like, okay, that's cool. 5 or 6 months ago, I was like, I can't believe she said that. Get in her face and disrupt them. And now it's like, what? That's part of the status. That's part of the standard operating procedure. Is to do that. And all it's going to do is drive this country farther apart. Because one of two things are going to happen. The Democrats get in charge eventually, and the Republicans are going to do it back to them. And that's just going to do nothing but drive it. And of course, everyone's memory is going to be short-lived and forget about these times. Or the Democrats or the Republicans will take the higher road, not resort to such tactics, of which then a big part of the right will say, wow, they don't have a pair because, they're not doing anything. It's a lose-lose either way. You either retaliate eye for an eye or you turn the other cheek. If you turn the other cheek, a big chunk of the country is going to call you a wussy.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. We need to get the point. We talked about that. You were gone last week. We had the guest co-host Steve Fletcher on, and we talked about this a little bit. And I really want to hear your perspective on some of this stuff. We are at a point, and I feel that if you're not on one side, you have to be in opposition. You can't be in the middle anymore. And, it's heartbreaking. Like this, I want to bring up Kavanaugh. Here's a guy that no one really knew. When they said his name, I was like, I don't know, I have any idea who this is. I started asking lawyers that are friends of mine. I talked to people that, I started reading some of his papers, and I'm like, oh, this dude's pretty moderate. I couldn't really find any blemishes on his record. But I wasn't looking that hard because I'm not, the person vetting him for his position. I was just curious. I believe that he is probably exactly who he says and what his record says he is. I also believe that Dr. Ford, one of the accusers that spoke in front of the Senate, committee uh, was most likely wronged in her life.
Right.
You know, like I think that something horrible probably happened to her, and you know, like I've never I've seen and been party to some very traumatic things in my day, um, and so I'm not ever going to pass judgment on anybody else that has dealt in that. I don't believe that any demographic, any group has exclusivity on pain, suffering, and traumatic experiences. But I believe that yes, something's happened to her, and she has the right to seek justice for it, without a doubt.
Right.
But why am I the bad guy? Because I can, in my heart, believe both of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my job to be a jurist. It's not my job to decide whether or not the Honorable Brett Kavanaugh is guilty of sexual assault. Just like it's not my position to decide if Dr. Ford is being truthful or not, or 100% factual. That's not my job. I'm not a jurist. This isn't.
Yeah,
I'm not the
and it's
deciding
funny you
thing.
mention that. Funny you mention that because none of those people in that committee were jurists either, right? They were
Right.
they
No,
brought him
like,
they brought him in there to see. I mean, the whole issue was he being truthful? Is he someone that can be honest, and is he being truthful um, with the committee, so we can know we trust him as a Supreme Court justice? And it ended up and it was like it fell apart to the point where they were talking about what this meant. Why are we about talking about farting in your yearbook and talking about drinking games and that kind of stuff? And it's like it went down such a dark place that was so off the rails. It was like it demeaned, I think, and watered down Dr. Ford's testimony. I agree with you, Toby.
oh,
She something's happened to her. I don't. So
she's been victimized not once but
so let
twice.
me say let me kind of say a couple of things. Remember when that happened? I think it was that day, right? We had a show that night. It was like 2 weeks ago when that
Hmm.
happened. And I came out of that and I talked about it. I watched it all day long. And I used the term kid gloves. And I remember, and you kind of had issue. You kind of thought, maybe that wasn't the right term to use. We had a little back and forth on that. And I kind of talked about, I was like, I just wasn't falling for and I said this then, within hours of it happening. I said, I wasn't falling for I'm so confused. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just poor little victim. And I talked about whoever was coaching her to do that. She did it right. If that's what happened, because it came across that way to me. Um, as I've learned more and more about her and what she's done, and now we hear about her coaching people through possible lie detector test, that she has taught classes and written books about. Of course, she's and she's a psychologist,
Hmm.
and she's written books and that stuff about how to portray yourself and how to do this and do that. As I heard more of these things after the fact, I started thinking, man, she understands the human mind. She's trained in that. She's considered an expert. She teaches about it. She writes books about it. Without a doubt, she would know how to portray herself. Um, and then we see that now that it's all said and done, her through her lawyers saying she's not pursuing anything, and it's not going any farther. And it makes me think, again, I've not obviously not a woman. I've never been sexually assaulted like that, and everyone handles things different, just like we handle grief differently, or we handle all kind of things differently. But I would find it hard to imagine if that really happened to you, even if you thought about it and remembered it years later, and you really think that person is the one that did it, you would want justice. Now, it may have happened, but maybe you're not 100% convinced that's the person that did it. And then it would be like, well, you don't want to punish a person either that could be innocent, and wrongfully accuse them. Um, but to me, what's happened over the last couple weeks since then, no doubt something happened to her. I cannot believe one bit that it was him that did it. Nothing else to me leads to that conclusion. Um, and what we've seen and heard and stuff, and since then, makes you think even more so. Even she may be doubting that claim.
Yeah, I mean, and we we promote like this division, like the hashtag I believe her, you know, I believe him.
Right.
Like, can't can't we agree that you have at one point in time, I want to say there was probably 50 women on a stage professing their support, adoration, and loyalty to Judge Kavanaugh. You know, he had given them opportunities, helped them get through law school, helped them with marital issues, helped them with school funding, helped them achieve the bar. Like, here's a guy that, you know, did that. And here's the thing is he didn't do it exclusively for women. Like, he did it for like everyone that he came in contact with. And, you know, you're like, I just remember putting that in going like, this dude's legacy is pretty impressive. Like, here's a guy that's helped a lot of people achieve. I mean, if Steve's listening right now, Steve Fletcher, that was on the show last week, if he's listening right now, like, he was definitely the strong ranger. All right. You know, and I saw his struggles, and I, you know, watched him go through law school, and like, it's hard work. He's a strong ranger, and, you know, he powered through. And I'm so proud of him. I'm so impressed by that accomplishment. If this guy helped hundreds of people achieve that, like, wow.
Right.
Wow.
And do the,
like, what a, that in itself legacy. But yeah, we're going to like dismantle a guy in the public. And I just think about the things that I've done wrong in my life. I think about the things where I've like, you know, I've misread a signal from somebody, and I've misread signals. And I can't imagine, and this is me from a position of guilt, who's misread a signal and acted on my misunderstanding or misreading of that signal and done something that, you know, is like, oh, okay, my bad. Like, I thought this was going a different direction. Man, I would hate for my daughter to hear the accusations and the misrepresentations of that moment on such a scale, on any scale.
Right.
Like, without the opportunity to set her down or set either one of them and be like, hey, girls, like, here's the deal. I made a mistake. You know, like, you know, and it all of this, I don't think she should be, I don't think she should be elevated as a hero. I don't think he should be elevated as a hero. I don't think she should be demoted and jettisoned, you know, like a scrap, just like I don't think he should. I think they're human beings. And I think, you know, we've missed an opportunity to work together as human beings for the greater good of this country. The record of his his dissents, his opinions, his affirmations, they speak for themselves.
Yeah. Just like those 50 to 60 women on who all signed, you know, who stood up and faced the cameras. Are their opinion, are their experiences not as valid as hers? I mean, you know,
right.
They were discounted. It's like, well, that's great. Yeah, 50 or 60 women, but it's like, that's 50 or 60 versus one real possible, you know, accusation versus, I mean, that says something.
And then you had like the I don't even want to get into like the false accusations and the false reporting and stuff like that. Because I think that's not an issue that needs to be discussed. I think as long as there's human beings, there's going to be people that are going to bear false witness upon their neighbor. The legacy, though, aspect of it is like people trusted other people to get their information. And I think that's so interesting with today's ability that the people that speak so adamantly in opposition of a position do not take the time to substantiate their position.
And
Um,
that's across everything today, not just this. That's
right.
everything.
And that's my point. Like, before I say anything on this show about something, there's no conjecture, there's no hyperbole for the most part. It's like, this is what I know, this is what I don't know. And y'all know, if I don't know it, I'm going to be like, I don't know. The passing and judgment of guilt on any person without anything, like, this country was founded on the premise that you are innocent until proven guilty. And if you've been victimized, you have a recourse to justice. And those two can go hand in hand. They're not adversarial.
Right.
And, and it's civility, man. Like, you can't believe that he's not this guy, and you can believe that something's happened to her at the same time.
Those are the bedrock of our country, and what separates us from communism and separates us from dictatorships and monarchies and all that other kind of stuff, where they could just say you're guilty because I said you're guilty or whatever. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if you are found with literally blood on your hands. It doesn't matter if the whole country thinks that you drowned your little girl, or that you killed your kids, or that you did this or did the most horrific things. You're still going to have a defense attorney. You're still going to get a day in court, and you're going to be innocent until proven guilty, and no one's going to call you different. And that's, again, there's people that there's no shortage of historic cases we can look at where you're like, no doubt that person should hang, that person is guilty, that kind of stuff. But you know what? If the case can't get made and the lawyers aren't doing their job, and God forbid somebody gets odd on a technicality, well, those technicalities are there for a reason. They're to protect people. You don't read someone their rights, and if they could be as guilty as all get out, but if you don't read them their rights, or if you don't do something else, or have their lawyer present when they say they want them and they get released, that's because you abuse the system that's there to protect people, right? It's no different than if you're driving and you are no fault at all, and someone just runs a light and hits you, and just T-bones you, and you had the green light, everything is in your favor, you had the dash cam going, all that stuff, but they pull you out of the car and they smell alcohol in your breath, you're guilty. You're wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're T-boned. Like, I had the green light. Yeah, the cop could be like, I was sitting at the light, I saw you at the green light, but I smell beer in your breath, I'm arresting you. You're automatically going to be wrong, right?
No, and it's so sad that we've come to a place where, we can no longer, work some of these things out. Like, where civility is gone, and it's like, it's us versus them. And, it's hashtag this side or hashtag that side. And, like, it's so interesting because I remember people talking to me about Judge Kavanaugh and saying, well, this guy, he believes this. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, in what opinion did he say that?
Right.
Because I would love to read it. I'm not saying that because I'm questioning you and your position and your thought process and your theory. I'm asking where it's at. Like, because I want to know. Like, people were so up in arms, and they put so much effort into, like, denying his confirmation, that now I don't know if I can take the system seriously ever again.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the crazy bit.
And you know what?
Like, I don't know.
They're not even letting it rest, man. They're already talking. As soon as we get in power, we're going to impeach him. On what? What are you going to impeach him on? The guy's not been found guilty of anything. But they're just,
right.
It's that kind of talk, it's that kind of dialogue that is continuing to drive this country apart.
It's the same people that dip into the fund to pay off their sexual harassment charges.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started. There's no people.
It's the same people
question them. Yes.
That are passing this judgment and saying that they're going to do these things. We're like, they don't have any moral ground, period.
Right. Don't
I
hey,
mean, they're
you know what these same people are? The same people that think everyone should get a trophy, a participation trophy. They don't like losing. They don't like losing.
and
That's the bottom
but
line.
this isn't a win-loss situation, and
No.
that's what is so interesting. It's like we've become so adversarial that you have to have a winner and you have to have a loser, or it didn't happen. This isn't a soccer game, all right? This isn't where like there's a participation trophy. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this is one of those situations where you don't chalk this up in the W column. This
Right.
is here's a guy, here's a gal presented for a position. Here's the requirements of the position. Here's their body of work, resume, CV. Who's the person? Like this doesn't have to be a war. This doesn't have to require destroying people's lives. This doesn't have to require destroying everything. You can accomplish this task without any of it. In fact, we've done it for hundreds of years. I know it's crazy to say that. We've done it. People have lost sight of what the task is, and they're too focused on the W column and the L column.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, and I'm not saying this because I'm on any side. You can't say that I'm on the winning side. You can't say I'm on the losing side. But what I am saying is if you have the losing side saying that civility will not return and should not return until they win, like you're a sore loser. And you're holding everyone's freedoms and everyone's rights hostage because you're a loser.
Right.
Like why not be like Bernie Sanders?
And you're a loser that they keep putting a microphone in front of you because just of who you
right.
are. Right.
Like people are going to go ape shit about what I'm about to say. Like be more like Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders lost for a myriad of reasons. Be it that the system was rigged against him, be it that his position wasn't in a firm foundation. Maybe his house was built on sand on some of his topics. But man, that dude has lost with grace. That dude's gone back to the drawing board. He's like trying to like figure out where he fits in, how he's going to represent his people and stuff because he has a following. I would say he has a bigger following than the person that spiked him. But like he's not. I can't think of the last time I saw him on a newsstand, on a press thing, pitching some bullshit. Like
he went right back to work, and he's trying to push for to push for stuff and push what he thinks is the right thing for either his party or people. Yeah, absolutely.
No, and like, and again, this is not a Bernie endorsement, and this is not a Trump endorsement. What I'm saying is like, do your job. You were elected to do a job. You ran on a position. Do it. Like be who you say you are.
Right.
And like the famous words of some guy that I don't know. It's probably Brian Chambers because he's in our Facebook chat room. A great guy that I play hockey with. But like be who you pretend to be on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like
I see Brian's got an interesting comment. He says civility is gone because of the president. I agree, Brian. I think once he became in office, everyone on the left lost their civility, which is why it's not going to come back until they think they get back in power. So I think that civility is gone because of him. They cannot accept it. They cannot accept that they lost.
No, like Brian asked. I'm. This is the Facebook chat I'm reading. Brian Chambers, he's like, what do you think of his obvious partisanship in the Senate hearings? Like, I think that if you're listening and watching anything with a lens, you're going to find it. You're going to hear it. You know,
I'm not sure what partisanship do you think he's talking about, because he went
what?
after the left in his statements.
No, like, I mean, he stood up for himself without a
Yeah,
doubt.
yeah,
But like, it doesn't matter what he said. If you're listening with a
you're
lens,
only going to see
you're
and hear.
looking with a
Yeah,
lens, you're listening with a filter, you're going to find what you're looking for and you're going to hear what you're listening for.
right.
And I'm not saying Brian's wrong. I love Brian. We played against each other last night, I think, as a matter of fact. He's one of my favorite human beings. We're obviously on opposite ends of a couple of different political issues, but again, like, why can't we be friends?
Right.
Like, why can't we disagree on something? But my point is, and as it's always been, is like, be objective. You know, if you're judging a guy to sit in a judicial position, read his opinions.
Right. Yeah, I don't think he was
Like,
partisanship in there, Toby, because when he had his one-on-one meetings with all of them, he met with like all the different committee members. I think I could be wrong, but I think he met with a big majority of them, if not all of them. They all had that opportunity to sit down one-on-one. I don't think he refused one side
for
versus
hours.
for the other. He met with every one of them. In fact, the seniors, which were Grassley and Feinstein, he met with the most, and he answered every question he wanted. He answered like 1,200 something questions, more than like several last justices combined. I think what we saw was, it was one side that, called him evil. Said that the moment he was announced, that they, their leader Schumer said from the moment he was announced, he went on the Senate floor and said he's going to do everything in his power to stop him from happening. They had this allegation. They held it. The senior member held it until the 11th hour, 59th minute. Booker and Harris and all the rest that are trying to stump for 2020 all came out and attacked him. And I think what we saw in his statement was him going back and having a pair, looking them in the eye, and saying what he thought of what they did and said. And I'm sure if there were any on the right that had done the same, that said something about that weren't really fans of his, he would have said the same thing to them. But it was only one side that made such accusations and said such terrible things about him. So that's why so I don't think it was partisanship in that. He was answering his accusers or addressing his accusers and the people that were slandering him in the press. But
no, the political process of it, I found, one, I got extremely educated on it in the past little bit, because there were things about it I didn't understand. I didn't realize that Judge Kavanaugh met with all the ranking officials, as well as the junior ranking officials, not for 15, 20 minutes, but for like a minimum of an hour. Like, so they had one-on-one time.
Answer any questions you want. Answer anything you want to ask.
Any questions, closed doors, not on the record. Like, hey, where are you at on this? Right? And it's like, if I was that person, regardless of what side I was on, and my job is to represent my people, I would read his opinions. There's a video out there about I'm trying to think of her name. I'm embarrassed that I don't know it. A female member of Congress, and she talked about meeting with him and the amount of time that she met. She had like an hour or something phone call. She had like a 2.5 hour office call, and she like read his opinions and went through things, and then asked specific questions about rulings and stuff, and found out that he was like adverse to her position on several things. And it's like, oh well, like, that's interesting. But I didn't realize that there was all this in this process. Yet when the television cameras turn on, there's a grandstanding. Right. And the right's been guilty of this as much as the left.
Yeah.
There's a grandstanding that goes on. Like, one of my favorite people in terms of the way that he conducts himself in, committee hearings and stuff like that's Trey Gowdy. The dude's like a savage beast
Yeah.
when it comes. Tom Cotton is the same way, for our OIF brother. Like they're guys like that, they thrive on those moments. Ted Cruz is a guy that thrives in debate. Like one-on-one interviews, dude sucks. Like not fun to watch. It hurts. You just like want to pull your eyelashes out one at a time. Put the dude in a debate and you're like, holy shit, who's this dude? Like, but what happened to doing that? Like, what happened to doing your due diligence? That's your job. And you got staff.
Well, that was one of the things that was brought up about Feinstein, right? Because she had this letter before she met with him one-on-one, and she spent hours with him. And she could have saved Dr. Ford from being embarrassed. She could have saved all their time and energy. And that's why, and again, by her waiting to the last minute, made it look, even if it wasn't, it gave it such an appearance of being such a political hit that it made everyone doubt its validity and actually made it less believable. Because had she approached him in their office, in the privacy of her office, say, hey, look, I got this letter. You want to talk about this? Do we need to pause and talk through this before we bring this out into public? What are your answers on this? That could have all been done. Not only was it not done there, then it wasn't done through 30-something hours of committee hearings. It waited to the end. And that sunk the believability of this accusation because it made it look so partisan. Right, she had the ability to save Dr. Ford embarrassment, save Judge Kavanaugh embarrassment, and stop the whole process. He could have said, I'm out, I withdraw. And they would have started all over. And no one would have known. And you know what? He would not have been on the highest court of the land. And, because of if he said, well, yeah, this kind of happened, I probably don't deserve it. Yeah. But
go ahead.
No. So, I mean, it just that right there made it unbelievable from day one.
Yeah.
She's believable.
John Kaiser.
She's believable that something happened. Yes, absolutely. Though I think she could have played it up a little bit, I don't think anyone would have put themselves through that, thinking they may get $500,000 on a GoFundMe page. No way she could have predicted that. But I don't think it was that. But I also think why she didn't pursue this is because she's maybe not 100% convinced it's him either. Because every person she named as a witness said no, wasn't there. I don't remember that happening. Don't even know the dude. I mean.
This adversarial role, we have to do something about it. Because we're going at each other in weird ways. Like John Kaiser was mentioning something in what chat room in the Facebook chat room. About not going into Portland because of the way Antifa is. And I was watching this video that was being shared about Antifa protesters blocking traffic and the way that they were talking to people in traffic. I'm sure you've seen it. Yeah. And of course, you got the tough guys like, yeah, you better turn or I'm going to whoop your, like that dude ain't whooping anything. But
a Big Mac, he's whooping a Big Mac.
Yeah, he might not be able to handle that. He might be on like the 2 cheeseburger meal. But, why can't you find the forum in the greatest nation on earth, in a market where you are loved and adored, and I'm talking about Portland, why can't you just get on TV and read your manifesto? Like, why do you need to be adversarial and block traffic? Like, you're not helping your cause. You're not communicating your intent. All you're doing is disrupting real life.
Well, dude, there's a precedent set for this, right?
And because here's the thing: if you did that shit in Georgetown, Texas, you did that in Austin, Texas, an F-250 with a road armor bumper is going to run you over.
Yeah. Well, we saw precedents for this, right? From day one. Remember, I was in D.C. on the inauguration. And I talked about it and put the pictures up there, right? The pink hat wearing people the next day blocking traffic, blocking ambulances. I witnessed it myself. Stopping traffic going through and blocking ambulances with sirens on. and then we saw the
that's
protest.
not a protest.
We saw the stuff of the burning the limo and attacking the Starbucks and all that other stuff. Dude, from day one, they've set that as a way to do stuff, right? It's been
But
like
that's
this all along.
not. But that's not protesting. And like we're in the greatest nation in the world where you have a platform to protest that doesn't involve you doing antics like what happened in the Kavanaugh case, what's happening in Portland, what's happening all over the country. You can exercise your word. You can use your words. I feel like I'm talking to a bunch of 4-year-olds.
Right.
Use your words. There's this wonderful girl named Madison up there in D.C. working in an internship right now. She's out of Southwestern University here in Georgetown, Texas. I had a wonderful conversation with her. She's a delightful woman, young woman, and her and I talked about using our words. And, every time it's just like, use your words. This is America. You have the First Amendment. But with that, I know we got to get going. We're already over time. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. I will be out next week because I'll be off with Veteran Outdoors on an international excursion, leading a bunch of deserving guys and gals to another country to go make some dreams come true. But Troy, good luck.
Yeah. Oh, we will do. We'll have a great show.
Crowd.
It is. We had a good crowd tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and joining us. I mean, a lot of people, Gene and Matt Burden, Brian Chambers, Doug, I mean, you name it, John Kaiser, Mom, Dad, just a whole bunch of folks. One of my Terps was in there for a while. I saw him. So thank you all for tuning us in, tuned in live. Hey, Scott, how you doing? Scott's on too. But we will be back next Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern here on Stu and the Nunn. Make sure you check us out on not only here on Facebook Live if you're watching right now, but also if you could be watching right now on YouTube, Periscope, or Twitch. And you can always catch it after the fact, Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. No shortage, no excuse not to tune in and listen to the show. Again, thank you so much. Check us out on stewandthenunn.com. Follow us on Twitter, Stu and the Nunn, Boo Hammer, and Toby Nunn. Both of us on Twitter, plus the show Twitter. And yeah, Toby, you have a good trip next week. Well deserved, and everyone have a good week here over the next week. I'm gonna hopefully drop some Bambi this weekend, making some memories, and looking forward to that. Quality time with the son. So everybody have a good one, and we hope everyone has a good night. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.